Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started in true Swarthmore timely fashion. My name is Reid Neureiter. I am a class of 2018. I'm a junior. I'm a rising senior now, actually. That's weird. And I'm a member of the Peaslee Debate Society. So we're really excited about this event today. I think it's going to be really fun. So we're debating the motion, America's best days are behind it. And I want to give you a little bit of brief background about Peaslee and a brief intro to the people we're going to be debating today. So Peaslee's been around since basically a year after the college's inception in 1867. There have been debate and public speaking groups on campus. And in the latter half of the 20th century, Amos J. Peaslee, who was class of 19...
Keep the microphone up closer.
Yeah. Sure. Amos J. Wow, that was a lot better. Amos J. Peaslee, who was class of 1907, donated a large sum to the Debate Society, which now bears his name. He was the U.S. ambassador to Australia, wrote a couple of great books, and ever since we've known as the Peaslee Debate Society. The people debating before you today are some of our most competitively successful debaters and also great people. So
honesty has never been a real trait.
I mean, alternative facts. Anyway, the team affirming the motion that America's best days are behind it is Josh Davis and Reid Neureiter, class of 1980. Josh and Reid had long debate careers, actually debating together for most of it. They were Team of the Year in 1987. They were national champions in 1987. They were world's finalists in 1987. Josh was also Speaker of the Year, or the top-ranked debater in the country, and top speaker in nationals that year. So, a lot of accomplishments. Currently, Josh is an employment lawyer and litigator and a law school professor in Boston. And Reid is a civil litigator in Denver, Colorado, so they have kept up arguing. The team opposing the motion consists of Julie Baker, class of 2009, and Miriam Pierson, class of 2018. Miriam is a junior at Swarthmore, a rising senior. She's an honors major in political science and an honors minor in economics. She is the reigning national champion of the American Parliament. And she is the first woman to hold that honor in nearly 20 years, which is And Julie is Swarthmore class of 2009. She, since graduating, has founded an urban charter school in Kansas City, and she was ranked in the top 10 in the country for both her junior and senior year as a debater. A little bit about how this is going to work. We're going to do 4 constructive speeches. They're all going to be 7 minutes long. They're going to take turns. And then we're going to have a brief opportunity for 4 speeches where you guys can grab the microphone and, as briefly as possible, try to keep it to like a minute or 2. I know, I'm being ambitious. As briefly as possible, make a point out a flaw with what they did, usually pointing out a flaw with what they did. There's going to be a lot of material to work with. And pass the mic along. I'm setting the bar low. And pass the mic along. Then we're going to have 2 brief rebuttals where people sum up the round and let you know why their side won. And then we're going to get out of here. I think at the end we're going to vote in a truly democratic way on who won. There is no good way to do that, so I think we should just like clap or show of hands at the end. And there is no prize involved whatsoever, but personal fun. With that being said, I'm incredibly excited to welcome Josh Davis up here to give the first speech on the motion, America's best days are behind it.
So a minute about how this works. And a minute also about why people shouldn't try to do things that they did 30 years ago. First, our role is we are the government in the British parliamentary system. So Reid and I are going to affirm the resolution. But we decided that much as if you were playing baseball, the rules that should apply to this round are the rules that apply when we debated, as opposed to the rules that applied when these young people debated. And as a consequence, I'm about to take you on a 1980s era magical mystery tour through the words, America's best days are behind it. And then in about 3.5 minutes from now, I will tell you what we're really going to argue about today. But let's start with a resolution. Who better to propose the notion that America's best days are behind it than a couple almost old, for our own sake, white dudes? There's no question that from the perspective of our folks, we're close to done. But that's not the best argument. The next argument that makes abundantly clear that America's best days are behind it, to the point where the resolution itself is a truism, is this. Donald J. Part of me thought that was the time to sit down. But then I want you to do this. I want you to come with me and let's consider a number of actual great days. All of which, of course, are in the past. It is impossible, isn't it, to identify a date in the future and tell you that it's better. For example, which day in the future is going to be better than December 15th, 1791, which is the day on which the Bill of Rights was signed into law? Which day? Make them tell you. Make them tell you with specificity. Which day will be better than the day Abraham Lincoln gave his second inaugural address? And we were on the other side of the Civil War. Huh? Which? Yes?
Hey, Brenna, on your point about the Bill of Rights, what about the day when that Bill of Rights actually applies to all people instead of just rich white men?
There will be no more talking. That didn't happen in the 80s. Back to the actual debate. Which day will be better than the day the Wright brothers got the airplane in the air? And we can keep going. Here are some of my other favorites. The day Faulkner wrote The Sound of the Fury. How about the day Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton opened on Broadway? Featuring a cast of rich white men, if I remember correctly. How about VE Day? How about 1860, whatever, when our college was founded? So those are great days in our past. And the notion is, they have to give you the actual date. I mean, that's the response, by the way, to Julie's question. What a great idea. Which day will that be? And we want the date. I could also make the decision to personalize this argument and talk about various physical ailments that increasingly beset me. But I am confident that Reid will take you on that mystery tour through the human body. I could talk a little bit about that nerve-wracking feeling as you realize that the sign that designates your class is closer and closer to the front of the line. Because we all know what happens when you get to the front of the line. And what happens to that number? The days when you're safely away from the front of the line, increasingly behind us. So, if you think about it this way, there is no room really for an intelligent argument on the topic America's best days are behind it. Because they are. Donald J. Trump. But there is this. It seems to me that we learned here together in the college that when we're faced with a seemingly insolvable problem, we should come up with a solution. A way to assure ourselves that in fact our best days are, to the extent we understand why they're there, there's something we can do about it. Now, I want to take everyone in the room back to prior generations of old white men who might have told us about how we had it easy as young people. About how the way to school was uphill both ways. You grew up in New England where I did. It turned out it snowed all the way till August when my grandfather was a young man. Somehow, that's climate change. Also, by the way, coming, right? So best climate days behind us. But I want to take, and Reid and I want to take and offer to you a slightly different view of the world from the perspective we sit in. We have the following notion. We believe that the reason the country is falling apart is entirely because of the internet. We believe that technology is killing our souls. And so our argument today, the position the government will defend, is that we should, immediately after this round, turn the internet off. And because we're not very technologically sophisticated, we don't actually know what that means. So we're going to tell you that what we mean is all of the things that happen with your little machines where you can Google and touch things and text each other and have apps that let you decide whether you're going to grab each other when you see each other for the first time, all those things will be away. Go! And instead we'll live in a world where we have to look each other in the eye, talk to one another, and search for truth together. Because ultimately, the thing that makes days good are the human connections we form. And we all have a barrier that we carry with us everywhere we go. I want you to think about the supermarket. The supermarket when you were a younger person, maybe not as young as they are, because they've always seen this. But if you had seen a woman standing or a man standing looking at vegetables and talking to themselves, you would have been worried for that person. And in a certain day and age, you would have gone up to that person and said, "Could I help you?" Not anymore, right? We all talk to ourselves all the time. And we rarely look up and talk to one another, and it's killing us. Donald J. Trump. 4 specific arguments. Nate, where are you? Where am I? Seriously? 4 specific arguments. 1, it kills relationships. How do we know? Tinder. People now meet each other. They do it without talking to each other. They walk into rooms, they grope one another. No more hand-holding. No more movies. No more looking to one another's eyes. No more love. It's over thanks to the internet. 2nd, academia. No books. Libraries going away. That stinks. And so does the part where you sit in a room and you absorb everything. Instead, you just ask Google. Google tells you the answer. Or even that little tube thing from Amazon, the Echo. That would be gone too. Politics, Donald J. Trump. News, fake news, alternative news, what's real, we don't know anymore because we get caught in a trap and we lie to one another and we believe the lies. We are losing our souls, we are losing our way. And finally, the economy. These machines are taking over individual entry-level jobs. I was told at a conference of lawyers last week that we had to buy Watson from IBM because Watson would do the job of first, second, and third-year associates. It would find all the law better than we could. You know what the problem is? That means that first, second, and third-year lawyers don't exist anymore. They don't learn to be lawyers. We will be without them, without doctors, without hope, without freedom. The internet is a scourge. We should turn it off, and we beg to propose.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. So much fun to have these guys here. I didn't know that they were such Luddites. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, just for starters, to do a little bit of rebuttal, I don't know if Josh uses his phone like this, but when people are talking on their phone, they're not talking to themselves, they're talking to other people. Actually, the internet has opened up a huge array of ways in which we can communicate with other people. So if you're just holding your phone to your ear and talking to yourself, that's what's concerning, not the fact that the internet exists. So, I have 3 arguments which I want to bring you, because we're going to bring you arguments. And these arguments... These arguments make the case for why, even if our democracy is about to collapse, and the FBI and some combination of Trump are going to take over, and and everything is going to hell, we still believe we'll be better off. And the first reason is because, you know what? Technology is great. You know why? Because even if they have like achy limbs and lots of other health problems, we can 3D print them new bodies. Technology can be used to rectify racial and gender inequalities, and this is actually a serious point. Like, there are movements which never could have gotten attention before the internet existed that can get attention now. It used to be that you had to convince some news anchor that your story was worth listening to, but now if you have a video of a police officer abusing someone, you can put that video online and people will listen to you because it's compelling to them. So you can make your case, you can make arguments, and you can build movements faster than ever before. A 75-year-old woman started the Women's March by creating a Facebook page, so we have the ability to organize and bring people together better because we have the internet. And also, just talking about the supermarket, you don't even have to go to the supermarket anymore. You used to have to do all that work, historically speaking, and still do to a large extent. You can have drones deliver your groceries, and you can hang out with your friends remotely without even having to visit them. Like a lot of people, probably, like, you know, that might seem like a less real relationship, but once we develop technology, we're literally developing technology that allows you to hug an object and allow a person hundreds of miles away to feel that hug. If you're someone who can't hang out with your friends 24/7 and doesn't live with everyone you know in the same house, probably that's the sort of communication that's going to be valuable in the future. It allows for long-distance relationships, which means you can pursue a career on one side of the country while your significant other is on the other side of the country, which of course helps women especially. Secondly,
I'm confused. When you say you hug an object in one part of the country, that's felt in another part of the country?
yes. So,
are we done now?
this will blow your mind, but they're designing vests so that you can make a hugging gesture and someone else will feel that. They're also just like trying to do it for kissing, but it's like literally so disgusting looking that this is where you go crazy in the supermarket where you're like kissing like an inanimate object. They're still trying to make that technology marketable, but yes, this is Second, people can live better and longer lives. This means that we're actually replacing the jobs which are not fun jobs. Like being an intro, I've been told that being an associate for the first few years is genuinely just not an enjoyable thing to do. You spend all of your years drafting useless memos that a lot of people don't read. You read through tons of information that never goes anywhere. So a lot of the most backbreaking jobs, we're actually able to replace them so people can spend their time not working or doing things that are actually enjoyable. And yes, of course, businesses are still going to want to train some lawyers to do their work because they have an economic incentive to do so. Also, huge health improvements. Like, despite everyone talking about the obesity epidemic, heart disease has gone down by 70% since 1970. So there have been huge health improvements. A 23% decrease in cancer deaths. The fact that murder has basically gone off the face of like top causes of killers in the U.S. So basically, people are living better, safer lives because of technology. The second thing I want to point out is that we live in a substantially safer world. So I think many of you guys have probably heard of Stephen Pinker's argument, which is basically that the world has gotten less violent. Back in the day, it used to be your chance of getting like just killed violently was something like 1 in 6. Now, like in our era, your chance of getting killed violently is very, very small. You're probably not going to get murdered. You're probably going to live a relatively high quality of life because of that. I think we all prefer not being murdered. I mean, as much as they talk about like interpersonal communication, sometimes it goes too far and we prefer to be safe. So, we have the ability now to hold a hole up in our homes if we want to and be perfectly safe. So, overall, the world is getting safer. There's more democracies than ever, which means there's less chance of violence because in democracies, people vote against war, and it's been shown statistically, and the evidence proves we live in a safer world. So no matter how much drama Trump might want to create, the reality is there's less drama to create because of the world we live in. The third thing I want to talk about is political trends, and this could also be called "Our generation is better than yours." So, our generation didn't give Donald Trump. Old pessimists gave Donald Trump. So what we want to say is we actually think that the evidence shows that young people are more progressive, more open to diversity, more tolerant, better educated, and more diverse than any of the generations that came before them. And these are the people who are going to be electing new presidents. So Donald Trump certainly did happen and does show that there are real harms in our country. But the truth is, the wave of the future is moving towards more progressiveness. And just in the last few months, the number of people who say they think immigration is good for our country has risen dramatically so that more people think it's good for our country than bad. The percentage of people who think we need to do something about climate change is now 67% of our country. So real progressive trends are happening, and Trump is probably a blip on what is otherwise a trend towards more progressivity. So we think we live in a better world, and our generation is super awesome.
Whatever that means.
Yes. We might have slightly less interpersonal communication, but at least we didn't elect Trump, guys. So let's move to discussing some of the points which he brought up. I think he brought up some interesting points. Let's talk about Donald Trump. We had 4 years of Donald Trump, and I think we're going to learn our lesson pretty well. Already, the special elections are showing huge amounts of backlash to this agenda, and I think we can basically expect the Republican Party to implode after this, especially because I can tell you my generation is more energized and more ready to turn out against Trump than ever. So yes, these aren't the best 4 years, but also I'd like to challenge these guys to tell us when our glory days were. Was it in 2008 when the financial market was collapsing? Was it in 1980 when we were in the midst of the Cold War and Reagan was just being elected president? Was it in the 1950s when much of the South was still segregated? I genuinely believe that when you take a larger view of history, you see that in general we have progressed. So there have definitely been some step backs, and I'm sure Donald Trump is one of them. Yes, they told us that we should identify some good points in the future. On June 17th, 2017, I'm going to turn 21. I'm pretty excited about the day you get your 3D printed body, and I get my own personal airplane, which will be better than the Wright brothers' airplane by a million, and can attend a Hamilton concert remotely. I think that's going to be better. Also, they talked about climate change. We say, first of all, that means better weather, but even if it doesn't, we think overall, the evidence suggests that people do want to do something about climate change and we're willing to invest the resources in it. In fact, most people don't support backing out of the Paris climate deal, which is why, despite all the oil industry pressure to do so, Trump hasn't yet. Okay, then they talk about how Tinder kills relationships. Just to deal with this really quickly, first, groping happened before Tinder, guys. I don't know if they understand this. But secondly, Tinder allows people to meet people before they do the groping step, which means you don't end up meeting really creepy people. And in fact, I know people who are in serious relationships, like Will here, because these relationships aren't as fake as they seem. Everyone's always pessimistic about technology, but the reality is it's making real improvements in our lives. So proud to oppose.
Excuse me for a second, Josh. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Ringling Brothers in Barnum and Bailey. Oh, I'm sorry. That institution, around for 146 years, is now dead. In part because of the presence of pachyderms. The analogies with our country. Should be apparent to all. And it was the greatest show on earth for the longest time. But today, we're faced with other challenges. And as a middle-aged man, entering my 6th decade, along with my colleague Josh, there are similarities between our country and, as Josh mentioned, our decrepit bodies. Whether it's the increasing weight around the middle, the arthritic remnants of what was left of the knee injury from college soccer, to enlarged prostates, urination, to chronic traumatic encephalopathy that's going to cause me and perhaps Josh to forget what we're saying up here, and we beg your forgiveness for that. It's a problem that we face, and it's mirrored in our country, 227 years, however long it's been around. It's effectively, in terms of countries and political system, it's had its day. It's over. But if we're thinking about analogies between medical conditions and our country's situation, I think the best analogy is crystal meth addiction. Because that's what the internet is to us as a country and as a community. And I'm appreciative of Josh explaining the process for the first 4.5 or 5 minutes of his 7-minute speech, and then just dropping at the very end the 2 minutes about how we're really going to talk about the internet being bad, and leaving it to me to try and explain why literally having every piece of human knowledge just a touch away is somehow a bad thing. Everything you ever need to know about history, about politics, about science is available to you. About biology. And what's damaging is it's not just available to you, it's available to the 15-year-old boy who used to have to search desperately under his parents' mattress to learn biology, and now becomes intimate and detailed and graphic gynecological experiments are available to him. And think about the trauma that causes to young people. It's not something that I faced. I had to look long and hard to find that kind of material. But now and it's traumatic to America's male youth, at least, and I think it's troubling to the development of personal relationships, and we hear it echoed by the opposition. And Josh, it was so troubling that Josh even, oh my goodness. Yeah. 15 minutes will save me 15% on car insurance. I got the memo. Thanks. We can't focus. There's this notion that we're processing multiple things at the same time. No, we're not. We're distracted. We can't focus. We lose our train of thought. I was talking about when Josh, I remembered this. The synapse is still there. I was talking about when my honorable opponent got up and she mentioned the technology hug. And Josh was so outraged, you saw him get up. Are we done yet? But think about that. Two people, rather than feeling the warmth of blood and tissue and they want to have a machine replace that via an iPhone somehow. That's just bizarre and, quite frankly, troubling to the notion of actual procreation. The maintenance of the species. So if you're actually going to vote on this proposition at the end of the day, view them as the side for the decline and perhaps elimination and extinction of the human race, as we're all left literally to our own devices. And you can picture those devices if you like. I recognize that this is a big ask. Shut down the internet, shut down Google, and some of you are employed by Google. Shut down Amazon. But I thought, well, is there a middle ground, perhaps? And as a parent of a soccer player, young kid, they have this thing called Silent Saturday. And where the parents come out and they're not allowed to cheer. They're not allowed to clap, they're not allowed to yell at the ref, and the players have to learn to interact and talk amongst themselves. So I thought maybe we could convince this august body to vote for a Silent Saturday, no internet. Once a week, for one day, everybody shuts down their internet. And Josh then convinced me, if we're going to go for this, we got to go whole hog. So no Silent Saturday. We're eliminating the internet altogether. And you, at the end of it today, need to recognize that, all things considered, there may be some marginal benefits to having the internet. All human knowledge is readily available to anybody. But you have to do a cost-benefit analysis. So the flaw in the opposition's point is they get up and they say all these good things about technology. Airplanes can fly faster, and we can talk to people across the world, and world peace. But I learned here at Swarthmore that there are costs and benefits to everything. And my own wife, who used to work at OMB, told me a story once of a regulation coming down where for the FAA, the airplanes, FAA, about, okay, there's some kids who are flying on lap seats, they don't have child seats, and if we required everybody to buy a seat, those kids wouldn't get injured and we'd save 3 or 4 lives a year. It turns out that if you impose that rule and make everybody buy a seat for a kid, for flights of 500 miles or less, so many more people would choose to drive than fly that they end up killing like 100 kids a year. But the people, the narrowly focused, well-intended, but nonetheless narrowly focused bureaucrats at the FFA thought, well, we need to improve the safety on our airplanes, and we'll do that by imposing a regulation that would end up killing 100 more kids. And so our suggestion to you is that given the costs and the benefits of the existence of the internet, that the benefits of actually talking to people, the human relation, the quest for knowledge, it's not just putting in a question in Google and getting the answer. Why, after all, do we have seminars at Swarthmore? Is it to get to the answer? Do you just write your paper and hand it to the teacher and the professor says, yes, that's right, and then you go, no, you sit down, you talk about it. It's that quest, it's the searching for knowledge. It's not the answer that matters. It's how you got there that matters. I think that means my time is up. But given the limitations, I think it's plain that we, the government, have a better position here, and the opposition should be left to their own devices. Thank you very much.
So I'm not really going to address things in any order because I think we've kind of abandoned the flow. And for those of you who've done debate before, or those of you who haven't done debate before, the flow is supposed to be like kind of a point-by-point rational analysis of the issues where people address the things that the other person said. And given that that really hasn't happened, I figure, why not? I'm going to give an overview that's going to last 8 minutes. So here it goes.
Or 7.
Sure. I'll cut 2 minutes off from your time. So I've kind of been lumped in as like a young person. But here's the thing. I'm actually an old millennial, which means that I was alive at a time when if you got lost on a road trip with your family, you had to stop, get off the side of the road, take out your AAA map, maybe go to a gas station and ask for directions instead of looking it up on your phone. And what I can attest to is, man, that was painful. It was also really painful to be playing games on my giant, clunky, gray Game Boy in the back of that car because we didn't have anything better to do and because I couldn't read the Greek and Roman classics on my phone while we were driving on that road trip. So all I can say is I think that that case makes itself. But more importantly, I really want to address this idea of the moralism of technology. The internet itself is agnostic. It doesn't care what kind of impact it has on the people who use it or who encounter it. it's up to us to decide whether it's going to be used for good or for bad. And I think the argument that humanity will inevitably destroy itself by using its latest gadget is unfounded. That argument, in fact, predates the internet and even predates the United States. I'm an ancient history teacher. It goes all the way back to the discovery of agriculture. And what Jared Diamond writes about in Guns, Germs, and Steel, which is, if you haven't read it, it's a great book, is that the biggest mistake, quote unquote, that humanity ever made was the development of agriculture. Because with agriculture came settled societies, specialization, stratification, patriarchy, every form of inequality, abuse, not to mention urbanization, diseases, and all of that jazz. And that's true. It is 100% true that those things resulted from humanity's quest for progress. But here's the thing. What predated them was not the giant real hug that Josh and Reid seems to think is going to happen when we turn the internet off. What predated them was the state of nature. Raise your hand if you took an introductory political science class at this college at some point. All right, yeah, like Thomas Hobbes, right? Or like, War of All Against All, like Nasty British and Short, right? That was what was going on before technological progress. And the truth is, for every moment we've had that we can be ashamed of, there has been a redemption. A redeeming moment. Barack Obama happened as president during the internet era, and that is something that was facilitated in part directly by the communities that were created through an online engagement that allowed mobilization of young voters in a way that had never happened before. I know because I worked for politics for Joe Biden in Iowa. And I can attest to the fact that 3 times as many people showed up in the precinct where I worked in Cedar Rapids as showed up in the previous election. How did they get there? This. Mass communication. It has more benefits than drawbacks. And to the point about Trump, as much as you could argue that Trump happened because of the internet, he will end because of the internet. As a means of mobilizing movements against injustice, just as often as it could be used for something that is negative. So taking a look at the first argument that was laid out in this round in Miriam's speech, one of the things she mentioned is the ways in which the internet can be used to actually democratize our society by bringing people not only closer to each other, but also closer to information than they've ever been before. And I want to point to a couple of very serious examples. So we know that police brutality is a thing, right? Okay, so like that was a thing well before the internet, right? In fact, I'm pretty sure it goes back to when the president who was elected when these guys were little kids invented the war on drugs. Actually, no, sorry, it goes back way before that. When has there not been police brutality? The reason that white America now knows about it and can't deny it is because Philando Castile was captured on a phone. Captured on a phone that was then sending a message immediately to Facebook, where the entirety of America saw an innocent man get gunned down for absolutely no reason. That is called undeniable information. It wasn't filtered through any lens. It wasn't in any way abstracted or made into fake news or whatever. It was an image that was a fact. And it went out to everybody at the same time. And suddenly you have all of these people who say, like, well, I'm a good person, but oh gosh, I actually can't deny the fact that I have privilege. And that awakening is something that happens in large part because of the ways that the internet facilitates interaction with things that you may not have otherwise experienced in your personal life. I grew up in a community where in my high school there were 800 graduates in my class, 96% of which were Caucasian. Everybody was filthy rich. I was the only kid who didn't have a 4-car garage and a cell phone for my 16th birthday. Yeah, they gave them 4-car garages for their 16th birthday. It's been a while, folks. But the reason that I know the things that I know today, because I didn't have a diverse experience, is because of the interactions that I had when the internet started making information about other people's lives and other perspectives available to me. In addition, I want to step into the shoes potentially of another person who might not have otherwise had access to things like an education. I teach poor kids. My poor kids have smartphones. They have smartphones that enable them to get information that previously would only be available to families who could afford the latest version of the Encyclopedia Britannica every Sunday, right? That information is what is going to allow those kids to succeed on their SATs, go to college, start to bring greater diversity into fields, of professional fields that has ever been witnessed before. And ultimately, it will be the reason why in 2024, when people of color actually outweigh white voters in America, we will be voting in somebody who is not. And I'm really looking forward to that day. I have maybe 20 seconds remaining, so I'm going to very quickly sum up everything else in this way. Not only does the internet increase the democratization of knowledge that's available, but it also makes people feel more beholden to each other because they're now aware that others exist, and it makes them feel less alone. The communities that are created amongst people who previously thought that I'm the only one who feels this way or experiences this can be life-saving communities. I disagree that just because there's a technology interface that it means it's impersonal. You can FaceTime. You can look somebody in the eye. Apparently you can hug them through a vest, which I'm excited for that. Less excited about the ugly kissing machine, but and most importantly, it gives you a way to find other like-minded individuals. Josh, I don't think you know how Tinder works. You don't just show up and grope. You actually have a means of weeding people out. For example, my Tinder profile says swipe left if you voted for Trump, right? It saves me a lot of trouble in the bar scene that maybe their generation might have experienced. So, in summation, I think the only way forward is a way that embraces our inclination toward technological progress. That's the only way that we're going to see ourselves rectifying the problems that may have been, yes, in some ways facilitated or even set up by technology in the past. But I ultimately believe that that moral arc of the universe, long however it may be, is going to bend toward justice. And for this reason, I'm proud to oppose.
Wow, that was fun. Okay, so the way this is going to work now is you have an opportunity for 4 speeches. You can ask a question, make an argument quickly, and these guys will respond or do what they did for most of the round, which is not respond, but say other unrelated things. Quickly, I'm going to give you my thoughts. That was the funniest I've ever seen litigation attorneys be by I am in total disbelief. But anyway, sometimes the debate round is just like one issue that like one side doesn't deal with because like frankly there's not a good way to deal with it. I think in this round there's one of those for each side. For the opposition side, man, global warming seems like a problem. I don't really know what to do about it, but I don't think the answer is better weather. For the other side, yeah, the 50s were really bad for minorities and women. Probably worth addressing at some point in the round. The last thing I want to say is just like, if you had told me that 2 or 3 minutes of this round would have been about a hug machine, like of all the examples of technology that are like amazing, right? Like, you can donate money via text to like stop famine in Africa, right? We've learned about the effectiveness of mosquito nets and saving lives, etc. You went with like a machine that hugs you, and like the logical extension of this argument, by the way, is really weird. Like, then there's kissing, and then there's what Josh thinks Tinder's for. Anyway, anybody have any comments? I'm going to hand the mic.
Well, very quickly, I'm from the class of 1966. So last year was my 50th, and of course that was my best year is a lot better than this year. Somehow I keep finding that last year is always a little bit better than this year. Anyway, one thing I noticed about the presentation is there was no math. Nobody decided numerically, how do we decide if the coming years are better than the last years? So I did a little calculation. And when you look at, we're at extreme value theory, and that's a form of e to the x, but let's not worry about that. Let's just say there's a probability of one day being better than another day. And if we really establish it mathematically, you can say, well, the probability of a particular number of years having a good day is about the same as the probability of another group with the same number of years. So why don't we just set it up and say that the probability of a good day in the past is similar to the probability of a good day and an equal number of days in the future. And if I look it up, USA is 88,025 and a quarter days old. And so if we go 88,000 days into the future, then we find that the probability of a better day is about the same as a day in the past. And then we get into Carl Sagan theory of math. And we're going to get into billions and billions of days. So the question is, how long is the US going to be here in the future? And that establishes your probability.
Yeah, this is Peaslee. This is the philosophy and political science major.
Thank you. I'm with the class of 87, so I remember the 80s, or most of them. And I remember these two gentlemen entertaining their entire class every so often on the weekends and much of the East Coast. I know those days were better because back then, in this kind of room, we had beer. Beer, right? And but you know, hey, we're all here, and I just want to make a couple of serious points here, which is that the ladies on the left are young people, typical young people, self-service, selfish. They are pro self-pleasure. They are pro machines. And they're pro the end of the human race. Whereas these two middle-aged white dudes over there, they're for family values. Nobody talks about family values, right? No, they're for hugs, real hugs. Meeting girls in bars. Your eyes gaze at somebody else. There's a sparkle of romance. There's love. There's babies. I mean, these guys are pro babies. But the serious point here is every time I come on campus, I'm impressed at how smart the next generation of students are. I'm reminded of the fact that I could never be smart enough to come here today. And but I also know. But I'm also reminded that I wouldn't want one of those smart young people around our world. Because we have something that they don't have, which is experience and perspective. And the gentlemen with experience and perspective know that our best days are behind us. So, just as we become more like our parents, these two young people will also one day learn that the best days are in fact behind us.
Hi, just a quick question for you to consider. Well received knowledge that the internet's destroyed the music business. You asked the question about what year would you choose for the best years. I just thought I'd ask you to consider 1977, some of the greatest rock bands in the world, some of the greatest multi-platinum albums. And it's also a good time because it's post-pill, before HIV.
Julie here, do you want to, or do you just want to ignore them? Any thoughts?
I mean, music might be worse, but it's free for me, and that's pretty chill, because I definitely don't have money to buy music, so.
That does not seem compelling. Okay.
Pat Holmes, class of '82, and when I'm dealing with someone who's depressed about Trump, I bring up 3 points. First, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that, look, America's had these amazing and violent pendulum swings from one side to the other, and will swing back again someday. And secondly, Jon Stewart pointed out that the same country that elected Donald Trump also elected Obama twice. But I think the most compelling argument is a wise man, specifically Penn Jillette, once said, at any point in history, 2 things are always true. One, it's never been any better than it's been before, and 2, everyone's complaining about how much worse it's getting. And I will follow that up just by saying, I started a website called optimismguy.com. I've been too depressed between Trump and being laid off to post lately, but after watching the women from the class of 2009 and 2018 work, I now feel optimistic enough again to post. Thank you.
Anybody else, or do we want to get on to rebuttals and get out of here? All right, let's move along. First, I call back up Miriam to give a 4-minute speech. The point of this is to summarize the arguments that were made. They were made between a lot of jokes, and also we have to vote in a minute, and there was just a couple minutes of silliness, so that way you can remember what you're actually voting on.
I don't actually have a timer, but I'll try and keep this brief. You can see what debate used to be. It used to be stand-up comedy. It's evolved a little bit since then. But it's still a great activity all around. A little bit less beer nowadays, sorry guys. We were pre-warned that alums would be angry at us for not bringing beer. Just for starters, where did they get all of this nonsense which they told you today? Mostly from the internet. Do you think he just knew all the FAA regulations about children on planes off the top of his head? No, he read that on the internet. Also, music was really cool in the 70s apparently. Not my favorite, but I heard it was great. You know what? I can listen to it for super cheap online, which means we already made all the great music. Now everyone can access it. That means a more equitable world. That's chill. Thirdly, now I'm just kind of responding to the things which people said. You can read a million think pieces about how my generation is the me generation, and you guys all ruined us with participation trophies, etc. You can have this information online, I promise you. But the truth is, we still didn't vote for Donald Trump, and I still think that makes us substantially better, and we're still going to be the reason that he doesn't end up taking over everything. The third thing is, and this is just a random anecdote, my grandpa took me on a mountain when I was a child, and he used to think it was fun to not carry a cell phone, and that was fun until the lightning storm came. So overall, I think that technology has made us safer, and means that probably me bringing cell phones on future mountains is the reason I'm alive today to make these arguments. Finally, I just want to say, Democrats are way better at the internet than Republicans. So if you're worried about the internet ruining the future, Democrats are going to take over the internet. Literally, we might have Mark Zuckerberg as our candidate for president for 4 years, apparently, or Oprah Winfrey. And either way, we're going to kill the social media game and definitely win this election. So overall, I think that our country is definitely in a bit of a dark place. But we're going in a good direction no matter what these guys said. There have always been curmudgeonly people to tell us about how the world is going to be destroyed in the next 2 years. But I think overall people are living better quality lives. And even with global warming, which I apparently didn't respond to, thanks Nate. Yeah, my boyfriend calling out all my arguments here. It's still very clear that we have technologies that are going to be able to mitigate the impacts of global warming, that we have a world where people are able able to work together and communicate with each other. Hell, in 10 years, we might not even be able to speak other languages because there will be technology that allows us to speak automatically to people in other languages. So overall, you're right, probably the hug machine was the incorrect example for today, but I still do believe that we can have technology that makes our lives better, and we're very proud to oppose. Thank you.
I've spent so much time in debate rounds being accused of not arguing things. It's nice to have it happen one more time. But the astute listeners in the room will remember that I put 4 very specific arguments on the flow pad at the end of my Prime Minister's speech, and that they are largely unrefuted by the opposition. Here's what we have in the round. I'm going to put an umbrella on it. I'm going to say a couple things about what she said in rebuttal, and then I'm going to walk you through the 4 reasons you're going to vote for us at the end of the day. First, here's what this round boils down to. Miriam wants to be able to do... Sorry. They are for me. They envision a world in which you can do things alone and not have to interact with other people. You can hug this ridiculous object thing. Think about that. Okay? After you're done hugging the object thing, you can do your grocery shopping and you don't have to go outside. Increasingly, they build a world where you'll sit with your phone and you and your phone will be alone. There's a movie about that starring, I can't remember, Joaquin Phoenix, right? It's a scary movie. It's not the world we want. What we want is a world where people actually look at one another, talk to one another, think and explore ideas together, and we believe the internet is a barrier to that. And we believe in 4 specific ways, and here they are. This is how you vote. 4 specific ways the internet is letting us down. First, we say it's killing academia. I mentioned libraries. Did you hear about libraries for them? No, because they don't care about books. We do. If you read, you should vote for us. Second, I talked about community and relationships, and they got distracted by Tinder and sex, because we all get distracted by Tinder and sex, but that's not really the point. I mean, I'm terrified to say this, but Gehan got it. The point is, we want a world where people have to talk to each other, look into one another's eyes, and get to know one another. They want a world where you negotiate everything by email first, and then you go and do what you agreed to do together. That's not the world we want our families to grow in. That's a world that stultifies community, and as Reid points out, means there will be no more people left. Then I talk very specifically about jobs. And Miriam says, well, you don't need the entry-level jobs, except that's how we learn. We learn by doing things that seem less than interesting. We do them again and again, and through doing them, we develop thoughts that matter and ideas that change the world. They want to shut off that creativity, and in so doing, what they're going to do is shut off the economy. So Julie made a wonderful point, with which we don't disagree, which is that there is opportunity through the sharing of information. That's something that in the world without the internet, we have to solve. But in order for the opportunity that's shared to work, it has to be right that there is somewhere to go. And our point is, the internet as we define it is closing off the places to go. There will be nowhere to turn. And that's dark, scary, and bad. And that's a world where Donald Trump is in charge. And here's the other thing about Trump. They say, don't worry, we didn't vote for him. But they didn't vote. And they didn't vote because when you take away the communities in which we meet each other, the stores, the main streets, the opportunity for people to feel part of a world larger than themselves, voting doesn't seem to matter. I promise you it does. The causes that are emerging are good causes, but people have to stand up and be counted. And right now, they don't get that. And they don't get it because they live in their private world with pictures on their phones and without people they care about to talk about, learn with, love, and grow with. We give you a world we should all want to live in. They give you a world where you hug a metal object and hope that somewhere across the country, some other person feels it. Seriously, vote for the government.
Okay, with all those shakes and hands, we're going to vote in a deeply precise, scientific, calculated method. Applause, I have no applause meter. I'm going to make a subjective judgment And yes, I'm dating one of the contestants.
But we have no objection.
Some people strive for unbiased moderators. I'm never really sure why. Anyway, okay. If you think the government team, the affirmative team, the older team, the team from the class of 1987, Josh and Reid won, make yourself heard now. And if you think the younger, prettier, winning team won the round, the opposition, Julie and Miriam, make yourself heard now. I always loathe this being close because then it's going to look awkward whichever way I decide this. Like, one way everybody thinks I was biased towards Miriam's team, and the other way, I'm in trouble.
Be smart. And smart is not us.
The other two Peaslee debaters here, the opposition team. Yeah.